Lauren, why and when was your organization founded?
The Federal Health Architecture Program was established in 2004 as a U.S. e-government initiative, one of a number of e-government initiatives. And the purpose of it really in the health arena was to bring together a collaborative of U.S. Health agencies with an interest in exchanging data with one another, as well as between the government agencies and their private partners. In 2006, when the Office of the National Coordinator was established, the Federal Health Architecture Program became a part of ONC, as we call it, and began to work under the umbrella of ONC with the broader goal of creating interoperability across the U.S. health system. In that time, the federal agencies, which include the Department of Defense, Department of Veterans Affairs, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Social Security Administration, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, are a number of those that have been most active in the program, have created a number of solutions and collaboratives that I can talk about that have really moved forward and are demonstrating exchange between agencies and private providers.
So can you extrapolate on some of these projects?
Two initiatives in particular that I'll talk about are the CONNECT program and the Nationwide Health Information Network Exchange program. 2008, a program established the Nationwide Health Information Network, which we called NHIN for short. A number of trial implementations were established to demonstrate the ability to exchange data over a secure network. That evolved to what we now call the Nationwide Health Information Network Exchange. And through that initiative, standards and specifications have been established to enable the exchange to take place. The CONNECT is a gateway that was initially started as a reference implementation of those specifications. The federal agencies adopted the CONNECT gateway as the transport mechanism to exchange data through the Nationwide Health Information Network Exchange, which is a collaborative of government agencies and their private partners exchanging data. CONNECT has now, over the last few years, evolved to become a product. It's an open source product developed with open source code that serves as the gateway that the federal agencies use to exchange data with private partners. At the same time, the exchange was created as the collaboration of government programs. The Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs currently work together with private providers in support of the Virtual Lifetime Electronic Record Program, which is one of the programs under the exchange. Social Security Administration is exchanging data with private providers in accelerating the determination of disability benefits for patients. That's one other component of the exchange. So these are very real initiatives designed to affect operational exchange of data between providers, between government providers and private providers. The backdrop of all of this is the creation of an architecture, a framework by which providers can exchange data. So the development of standards and specifications, interoperability specifications across government agencies that enable the exchange. Each of the federal agencies within the U.S. government has an enterprise architecture in place that describes the framework of data and business processes within their agencies. What we're trying to do with the overarching federal health architecture program is identify where those interactions exist between agencies and between the government agencies and the private providers, so we can begin to create more effective exchanges of data where those interactions occur.
So what have been and are the stumbling blocks?
Because each of the government agencies serves different beneficiary populations, there have been some challenges in really getting focus on where the initial set of problems to solve should be, and that has evolved to some of the particular initiatives that the exchange has taken on. The Federal Health Architecture Program is funded through contributions from other federal agencies, and the Office of Management and Budget is involved in working with the agencies to identify what that funding is from year to year. So I think some of the challenges in the last few years have been, again, really trying to identify what the high priority issues are to tackle in light of the establishment of ONC and the HITECH Act, that aligning the federal health architecture priorities with the broader initiative of facilitating adoption of electronic health records within the United States.
Mariann, please describe the NHIN and how it evolved.
Certainly. The Nationwide Health Information Network, or for short, the NHIN, is really the set of standards and services and policies that are being adopted to enable secure exchange of health information via the Internet in the U.S. And there is an endeavor underway where the Office of the National Coordinator will be going through a rulemaking process to establish governance for how those standard services and policies are adopted. There's a similar initiative that is called the Nationwide Health Information Network Exchange, which is the community of 25 partners, federal partners and non-federal partners, who exchange data using those national standards. And they do so under a common trust agreement called the Data Use and Reciprocal Support Agreement, which outlines the terms of trust and the obligations of the parties, as well as an operational governance structure. So it's important to show, I think this is an important indicator of how the federal government, the private sector, local agencies have come together to exchange information for a common purpose, a shared mission, which is essentially to improve patient care and public health in the U.S.
So how does this work relate with other projects in Europe?
It's very relevant to work going on in Europe. There's an initiative in Europe called EPSOS, EPSOS, that is implementing the very same standards, services, and policies that are supported in production with the Nationwide Health Information Network Exchange. And what that shows is that this community, and this is a growing community of exchange partners in the U.S. that will actually continue to expand connectivity nationwide. We think it's compelling and an indicator that this is the right way to go because our European partners are using a similar set of standards.
On the standards front, the work that we do within the Federal Health Architecture Program and within the Office of Standards and Interoperability within ONC, which is where the FHA sits, we work with standards development organizations, and we have a process called the Standards and Interoperability Framework, by which stakeholders come together around a particular use case or problem area and work through a process to determine the particular standards and services and specifications that they would like to employ to enable interoperability. And I think similar practices are in place in the European community, working with standards development organizations. I know there's a lot of dialogue between the U.S. and European community around standards and alignment of standards.